I will never be one to encourage folks to quit their job like everybody else on social media, as if like everything is unicorns and rainbows on the other side. I've never just done that. And so I would never, advise anyone to do that. Welcome to the Writing on My Mind podcast. This is where we discuss all things related to the doctoral journey. On this show, I share personal stories and bring some friends along for revealing conversations about their journey and provide inspiration for others to level up as doc students. I'm your host, Dr. Emmanuela Stanislaus. I'm a doctorate coach and diversity consultant. I finished my doctorate in 4 years while working full-time, traveling the world, and balancing a busy social life. And now I'm on a mission to create community for other women of color to complete their doctoral degrees. This is real talk to help you along your doctoral journey. Now, let's get to the show. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Writing on My Mind podcast. This is Dr. Emmanuela, and like I said, I'm back with another episode. I just want to thank you all for all of your support over the past, lifetime of this whole podcast, but most recently because of all of the support that is around the ebook that's out. I also want to, if some of you haven't already, I want to invite you to listen to 2 podcasts that I have been a guest on most recently. On these podcast episodes, I share so much that I haven't had a chance to share here on the Writing on My Mind podcast. So please give them a listen. First is First Gen Lounge with Dr. Eve, who you've heard featured on this podcast before. She was a part of season 2. And so invite you to listen to her episode as well. But with the First Gen Lounge, if you are a first gen college student, meaning that you're the first in your family to go to college, you have to subscribe to the First Gen Lounge podcast. Dr. Eve and the folks that she has on the show are so amazing. I was a guest on episode 240, and I will definitely make sure that I put a link in the show notes for easy access to that. On the show, I share about entrepreneurship and how I've been a serial entrepreneur, why I closed down some of my successful businesses, and so much more, things that I haven't talked about on this show. So give that a listen. And then the second interview that I want to share is my interview with Dr. Yvette Martinez-Vu from Grad School Femtoring. So you heard from Dr. Yvette on the episode right before this one, and we had such a great conversation about how she has created this unique life for herself in Portugal after receiving her doctoral degree. So definitely check that out. But with her show, definitely want to encourage you to follow her podcast as well. On the episode that I was a guest for, I discuss so much and give a ton of career development advice for graduate students. So definitely check out episode 160 on her podcast. And again, I will put links in the show notes for you to access both of those guest appearances / interviews. Like I said, I just wanted to shout you all out and thank you. I see the number of downloads increasing, which makes me so excited just to know that the information that I'm sharing on here is resonating with you all to where you're either sharing it with other folks so that they can listen. And that, again, makes my heart smile. So thank you again for spreading the word, and please continue to share. I also want to send a quick thank you to everyone who's purchased a copy of my ebook, Taking Charge, a career guide for grad students. And if you haven't already picked up your copy, this is your reminder to go ahead and do so. I accomplished my first week sales goals and super excited for all of you who have decided to get in the driver's seat of your career. We're less than 70 days away from 2023, and some of you are thinking about a career change or maybe switching jobs. And my ebook focuses on the 4 critical aspects to get the fastest results, which are discovering your values, declaring your why, figuring out what your personal brand is, and then being strategic with your network. So again, get yourself a copy, tell a grad student or a faculty member about the ebook. I'm also available for talks about the ebook and topics related to career development in general. So feel free to reach out through my website if you are interested. So this is the last episode of season 3. This is the season finale, and it's another solo episode. And this season, we've been exploring career development in all of the solo episodes. So definitely check any of the solo episodes out from this season if you're wanting to catch up on career development in general. There's a lot of good nuggets in there. I also have a survey too that I want to invite you all to fill out for season 4. If you have a topic in mind that you would want me to explore in the solo episodes of season 4, or if you even have a guest that you would like featured on the show, definitely fill that out. That link is in the show notes. But for today, I want to discuss entrepreneurship. And I was inspired by this topic given my conversation with Dr. Eve on the First Gen Lounge podcast. Seriously, I want to encourage you all to check out that episode. It's really like listening to 2 friends chat all about entrepreneurship and our entrepreneurial journey. So definitely check that out. If you're currently in a graduate program, you might be contemplating entrepreneurship as a path. There's really a ton of messages out there that are inspiring folks to kind of look at that as a potential career path. And so I want to talk a little bit about that today. First, though, I do want to share that there are a couple of different types of entrepreneurial paths that you can explore. A lot of folks will sometimes refer to this as the 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. shift, right? So you work your 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. job, and then 5 to 9, you are doing your own thing. This is the route that I have always chosen, and it's worked for me. I've had multiple side hustles, multiple businesses. I'm a serial entrepreneur, and that works for me. Right? Of course, it's challenging, particularly during the times when my main job is demanding or during those seasons where it requires a lot from me, but it works for me. The other option is where you go all in, which means that this is your sole source of income. There isn't any fallback plan or plan B in this type of scenario. And I feel like this is one of the things that folks kind of think about and especially gets romanticized out there by folks. It's the whole idea where you just quit your job and you jump right into entrepreneurship and trying to figure all of that out. Now, for a lot of folks, especially first-gen college students, that's not a reality. Like I mentioned in a previous episode, many of us have to work in order to support ourselves and pay our bills. So going into a situation where our entrepreneurial venture is our main source of income may not be a viable option for you right now. So thinking about how you want the business to be structured around your life is something to really think about. If you're thinking about starting your own business venture, you need to ask yourself why you want to start this in the first place. And the reason for this is tied to any type of career advice that I personally give to folks. You need to know what your why is. Your why is your compass. It keeps you motivated, it keeps you excited, it keeps you focused. especially because entrepreneurship is a long, hard, and challenging road. I say all that while also keeping in mind that entrepreneurship is also rewarding, right? However, there are challenges along the journey. So the sooner you can hone in on your why, the better, because that will keep you focused and motivated when things get tough. So take some time to evaluate that, figure out why you want to get into the space, figure out your vision for yourself. What is it that you want this entrepreneurial venture to mean for you? What type of life do you want to create by way of this entrepreneurial journey? And that will definitely set you off in the right direction and can also be a source of motivation along the journey. Now, keeping all of that in mind, I want to share some additional things to consider. Really, it's 8 pieces of advice that I have for you all today. So let's just jump right into it. The first one is around a mistake that I think that folks make, which is not getting enough experience working for someone or a business before starting your own. Personally, I worked at a university planning special events before I started my own business. I also shadowed other wedding and event planners to help with the process of getting a sense of what I can expect when working with clients and working on their event, right? It's not my personal event, but it's an event that means a lot to clients. So, what are the personalities that I will have to manage? What are some of the expectations that are tied to that? What does a day look like? What does the months leading up into that event look like? So, these were kind of the things that I was able to gather information about to help me get a more holistic view of what I would be jumping into. And then the piece with the whole shadowing thing is when I shadowed, I was super transparent with those other wedding and event planners about what it was that I wanted to do. I asked a ton of questions to benefit me, right? And helped me to gain more information on the way that I wanted to structure my business, right? So because of that honesty, folks were open with me. They provided resources and helped to make that journey just a little easier for me. And then the piece too with working for other folks is that you just get more ideas about how things are structured, how sales deals are closed out, right? Like all of these kinds of things, because once you do get into running your own business, sales is a big part of it. You're constantly talking to folks, trying to get clients or trying to keep the clients that you have, trying to find other opportunities where you can get a foothold in a market. So it's truly important to have those experiences working for other established organizations so that you can, kind of get a sense of efficiencies, processes, all of those things. So that is my first piece of advice. My second piece of advice is to get legal advice. It's so important. When it comes to businesses, you will have to determine your structure, whether it's a sole proprietorship, a limited liability corporation or LLC, a nonprofit, an S or C corp, and the legal advice that you get will help you to figure out which structure will be best for you. My advice for you is to get it all figured out in the beginning. There are folks who start to do business without having these things situated and end up opening themselves to a lot of legal issues and a lot of liabilities. And it's so much harder to change those things up after you've been doing business. So get those things situated ahead of time. There are positives and shortcomings for every structure. So you definitely want to seek that legal advice to see which one works best for you and for your state and your situation. So that's number 2. Number 3, when you are an entrepreneur, you work more. Don't think that you will leave your 9 to 5 and that starting your own business will be you working less. In most cases, you work more hours and you're more stressed out as you're worrying about building and being a profitable business. So that's something to really think about. Even in my side business, I am putting 40 hours a week on average into my business. I'm constantly looking for ways to, again, set myself up for success, find new clients, manage the clients that I have. And so you definitely want to make sure that you are knowing that there's a possibility that you will be working more than likely. Entrepreneurship is not for the weary or the faint of heart. So I definitely do not want to paint a rosy picture. I talk a lot about your why and vision on this podcast. I even mentioned it in an earlier piece of advice on this episode. And it is important to get in touch with that if you are thinking about starting your own business. I'm focused and relentless about my why, which is increasing the number of women of color, doctoral and graduate students in general, and supporting that population, right? And so everything that I do is with that in mind. And so you definitely need to make sure that you're connected with that, because when you do get tired, when you're up, at 3 in the morning trying to do things towards your business and things like that, holding on to that why will keep you going, right? So that is my third piece of advice. The fourth piece of advice is don't quit your job just yet. I will never be one to encourage folks to quit their job like everybody else on social media, as if like everything is unicorns and rainbows on the other side. I've never just done that. And so I would never, advise anyone to do that. You can totally do that if it makes sense for you and that you have the financial means to make that happen, for sure, if that works for you. But you may want to consider side hustling to have your main job be a way to finance your business and to keep you afloat until you can get some things off the ground. So that would be my fourth piece of advice, to not quit your job just yet. Number 5 is to take stock of your skills. If you're thinking about a business, this is going to be super important. And especially for those of you who do not know like what direction you want to go into, if you're wanting to go the entrepreneurial route, you want to think about like, what are you good at? What are areas of growth for you? Does your employer offer opportunities to upskill in areas that you can benefit from in your business? And if that's the case, take advantage of all of the opportunities that you can get where they can pay for it and they can benefit from the skills that you're gaining to help their business, but then you can also use those skills to help your own business. So take stock of your skills, figure out what you're good at. Also, the other piece with the figuring out what areas you would like to grow in, I think that is a piece that can definitely help you down the line as you start to think about who you want to add to your team. You want to add folks who have areas of expertise in areas that you're not, that strong in, right? They can complement you in those areas. And so exploring those kinds of things will definitely help you in the long run. Number 6, entrepreneurship is lonely, especially if you're someone like me who's a solopreneur. And a solopreneur means that you are the only one in your business, right? I am a business of one and I do a lot of things. So think about what you can put in place to support you. Maybe it's creating a support group of people with similar missions and structures. I know I have done that where I've brought together folks, even as I was pursuing my doctoral degree, bringing folks together so that we can all support one another, but then also in my entrepreneurial journey, bringing together folks who are in the education space, maybe have podcasts as well, and find ways that we can support one another, share resources, maybe co-work together, all of those kinds of things. And so with that in mind, thinking about how you create this support group of people with similar missions and structures to help support you in accomplishing your goals. Maybe, like I said, you get on a call to co-work, or maybe you're on a group chat where you share resources and help each other through challenges that you're experiencing. So the point here is to do what you need to do to get the support that you need, because entrepreneurship can be super lonely. So that was number 6. Number 7 is to use your resources. So if you're a current student and if you're an alum, you have resources that are tied to your institutions. So I would definitely say to look into any incubator opportunities that exist at your institutions, because those are places where you can get support in terms of resources, access to resources, and maybe even funding opportunities as well. Another resource that folks tend to ignore is your small business associations, where they do have folks there that can provide you with legal advice, legal support, access to resources that can help you to, like, for example, maybe get access to grants within your states that are available to you, especially if you're like a minority owned organization or women owned organization. So definitely check those out, because those can be things that can support you along your journey. So using your resources and tapping into those. And then my 8th and final piece of advice is to think about what you want to do. And what I mean by that is it a product? Is it a service? Is it both? What problem do you want to solve? Who is your ideal client? And once you figure that out, you want to take the time to create an avatar. And an avatar is something that describes your target person. So it talks about maybe the age group that your ideal client or customer or audience fits in, right? So like their age group, their location, their level of education, where do they shop, where do they hang out? All of these types of things fall into creating this profile of an ideal candidate that you can use to market your services or product. Once you do that, you want to target everything that you do to speak specifically to that avatar. You want to create a vision for your business and develop a plan and goals that help you to actualize that vision, right? So there's a lot in that number 8, but you have to really explore what you want to do and who do you want it for, and then create this vision that, ties in all of those kinds of things. So those are my quick pieces of advice if you are thinking about going the entrepreneurial route after grad school, or maybe even while you're pursuing your graduate degree. And that's just a little bit of that. Of course, there's more, but those are I think some of the critical pieces that I think you need to explore and think about to set yourself up for success on the entrepreneurial side. And like I said, you don't have to jump all in. You can definitely have success as a side hustle. And so that would definitely be my piece of advice for you. So hopefully that was helpful for all of you all. If you have any burning questions around that, definitely send me an email at writingonmymindpodcast@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. Before I go, I want to thank you all again for tuning in and making season 3 actually like one of the biggest seasons so far in terms of like downloads, listens, and that sort of thing. I want to thank all of my amazing guests, and they were all my favorites. And if you are listening to this, like this is your first episode, I definitely want to invite you to give the other like episodes a listen. I think you should just listen straight through. I think all of the conversations have been amazing, as well as my solo episodes. They all have a ton of nuggets in there to help you navigate graduate school and be successful. I want to share that season 4 won't come out until 2023. I'm going to take a much needed break. I'm still very much grieving the death of my father, and I honestly think that this is something that I will be living with for the rest of my life. It's been one of the hardest things that I have experienced. And I haven't really had the chance to just be. And that's what I'm going to do for the next 3 to 4 months. And so I will be back in spring of next year. Probably the end of February, but I really don't want to hold myself to that. But be on the lookout for that. And you can definitely follow me on Dr. Emmanuela if you want to see what I'm up to during the break. Like I said at the beginning, I do have a survey that I would love for you to fill out and share what topics you would like to hear in season 4. Want to know if you want me to keep chatting about career development in solo episodes. I've also been toying around with the idea of talking about goal setting, or even having a deep dive into personal branding as general topics for solo episodes. So please check the show notes for the link to the survey and let me know what you think. I also want to hear what guests you would like for me to have on the show. If you would like to be a guest, definitely shoot your shot and add that to the survey as well. And then also don't forget to get a copy of my ebook and share news about the ebook with people that you know. And that link to the ebook is in the show notes as well. So that is it for today's episode. That's it for season 3, and I will see you in season 4. Hope you have a safe end of the year and a great beginning to the new year. And you will definitely hear some bonus episodes while I'm gone. I won't be totally silent. So at least one bonus episode you will get from me while I'm gone. So I will see you all then. Bye. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Writing on My Mind podcast. If you'd like to support the podcast, make sure you follow the show wherever you listen to podcasts, rate the show, and leave a comment on Apple Podcast. You can also donate to the show by clicking the support link in the show notes. Your donations help me to continue to put out new episodes to help support you and other women of color doctoral students. I'd also love it if you could spread the word to other women of color doctoral students to grow our community. Be sure to also follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Dr. Emmanuela. That's DrEmmanuela. See you on the next episode.